Okay guys, this is going to be the second video. I'm going to be covering two of the other essentials in Skript. So first thing I covered was the first thing I covered was events, conditions, and effects. So you have an event, then you can set a condition, and then you can make that condition, you can make an effect happen. So next two things I'm going to cover are expressions and commands, which I think are very important. And then later on I'll probably talk about loops and specific stuff that you can do. But this video is specifically going to be for commands and variables because they're both very, very useful to use, especially on an HCF server in the way that I use them with custom commands. So let's get right into it. Alrighty, so we're here where we started, and the first thing we're going to do is a custom command. So I'm going to completely go all the way back to the left margin and do command, a space, and then whatever command you want it to be. So I'm going to do a enable sand. So this is going to be a command to enable whether we want to break sand or not. Next thing you want to do is to trigger. Just the word trigger. If you under this line is specific, like this column is specifically designed for any specifics about the command. So you can also have permission here as well. It's the only position, it's the only time when it's okay to not indent after you have a colon. So if I want only operators to use this, I can do op. If I wanted to make like a permission, it could be like, I don't know, sand.enable, whatever I want. I don't really care about the permission, so I'm just gonna leave that blank. There's a few other settings that you can put in that I'll cover later, but for now, just put in trigger and tab in again because it acts as if it's a an event, because it's just a command. So do set, and we're gonna set up a variable. Now a variable is held within these curly brackets, and so I'm gonna do sand enable. Sand enable is our variable to true, and now sand enable is true, but I want to make this specific to each player. So to make it specific to each player, you can do dot, and if I put a player here like King Clawthorn, then anytime someone types the command enable sand, it's sand enable dot King Clawthorn. King Clawthorn sand enable would be set to true. Now how we can make it specific to whatever player typed this command is we can just do player inside of percentage signs. Make sure there's a percentage sign on both sides. Anytime you do this, you're referring to a player that interacted with the event starting this. So for here, the person who typed the command enable sand. But if it were on here and I did this, it would be referring to the person who broke the block. And in attack and damage events, there are different types of players, but in general, player inside of percentage signs is what you need to know. And so this will set sand enable for whatever player that types this command to true. And I'm going to clarify, a variable is not just specifically a true or false. It can be a number, it can be a coordinate, it can be a text. And there's a few other variables it can be that are less commonly used, but those are the basic ones. It can be coordinates, it can be a number, it can be a true false statement, it can be a text. Those are the most common ones to use. And then I'm also going to make it more user friendly and do send you have enabled breaking sand, and that will send that to the player. We're also going to add a command that disables it. So we're just going to do disable sand. And we're going to do the exact opposite as this. By the way, copy and paste is a really good thing to know how to do. Just like basic keyboard commands, you're going to want to know how to do them. Like Control A and like Control Shift arrow key are also really nice things to know. So we can just quickly disable breaking sound and set this to false. And so now we have a command, enable sand, disable sand, that sets a variable to either true or false. What we're going to do is make it so that now this detects this top area, what we did yesterday, detects it. So if, and then we can take this variable as a whole, is false. So if you've disabled it, send and cancel. And then another thing that we're going to want to do just for quality of life is on join. We're going to want to set this is just referring to anytime someone joins the server, set this to true so that you enable breaking sand the first time you join the server. You have to type in disable and enable to disable and re-enable it. And I've saved that and I'll show you what it looks like on the server. Okay, so we're here on the server, and if I do sand enable or enable sand, I can break sand, but if I choose to /disable sand, I'll no longer be able to break sand. So it's working perfectly fine, and there's no real bugs to it. It's working exactly how it's intended to. Okay guys, so I've added a little bit of extra work off of what I just did, or what I just showed you. So these are new commands using these variables in different ways. In this situation, we're setting a variable to a number. So you can add 1 to count, and this will allow me to count, and every time I type the command count, it'll send back 1 larger of a number. This is a basic set home system using a variable right here, the home variable, home specific to a player variable, where this variable is a location or a XYZ coordinate. If you ever actually asked it to send it back to you, like I do right here, then it would send back X, Y, and Z, or a coordinate. And then here, we're setting it as a text. So it remembers it as like any text, so like any, like you could write a word, a combination of numbers, a digit, like partial number, partial word, anything like that. Also in this command right here, there's several arguments. Argument you can add just by adding these little symbols on the edge and then either text, player, or number, and then you can refer to that right here. And so what this does is allows you to remind yourself of a word if you type /forget. So I'm going to show you guys these all in game. You can pause the screen if you haven't figured out what each of them does yet, or if you want to look at them a little bit closer. I'm going to show you them in game now. Also, another word of caution is you need to be very careful about how you format stuff, because right here and right here I did the wrong formatting. It's send and then your message. Delete the comment. You can't do send player, that's wrong. It'll send you a message in chat. You just gotta be careful. If you need to specify who you're sending it to, you add it to the end, so to player. But if there's only one player involved in the event, then you don't really need to. It will just assume you mean to the player who was involved in the event. But on an attack event, then you would have to specify either the attacker or the victim. Another thing to be careful of is to make sure the commands don't interact with each other, or like the command is free and something else isn't doing it, because it could often interact with another plugin or another script, and that could cause some issues. So hopefully /go home. There we go. So /go home now takes us to that variable, so it'll always teleport us back. Obviously we'd have to add cooldowns and whatnot to this, which I'll cover in the next video. So yeah, the other thing is /count. So it says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's a variable having a number. So the number variable right now is 11, but if I type it, it'll add 1 and up here is 12 in the next one. And then the last one is remember. So remember, let's say I go a few weeks and don't remember what I needed to remember, I can do forget, and it sends me test. And if I want to change that to something else, I can do that and it works. So those are commands and variables. Very, very useful. And I'm going to start customizing more useful stuff next video, where I'm going to be adding a complete /home system that's incredibly effective. So yeah.